Welcome back, my peeps, to another episode of Azro Reacts. I'm your boy Azro, and today you already know we gotta go ahead and hop back into this Samaria trip, land before America. You know, where it was nothing but black folks. Nah, let me stop. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get back into this because I found some more videos and I found a lot of interesting stuff that I think you guys would like to see. So, with that being said, without further ado, if you like this video, go ahead, drop a like and subscribe for a brother, because you know that really helps me out. Small click for you, but it goes a long way for us. And let's go ahead and get into these videos.
What do you mean by so-called African Americans or so-called black people?
So-called black people. Black is the color of my hair. Black is the color of this watch band. Black is the color of the hoodie you got on. So, of course, we're not those colors. We are brown. We're copper. We're bronze. We're brown people. That's our pigmentation. That's the color of our melanin. So that's why I say so-called black, because black is the color of our Crayola. Black is the color of our crown. We're not the color of a crown. We're copper skinned people. The reason why I say so-called African Americans, because not all, but 98% of the so-called Africans that's in America are not African at all. We actually are indigenous to this land and we come from this land. So we have to quit acting like that all life started in Africa. No, all life stimulated everywhere. There have been black people on every inch of this planet since the beginning of this earth. You know, so we have to understand that and really do the research. And when you really do that research and you travel the world, you will see that. When you go to Asia and you go to China, the first people there that are still there now that they have ran to the mountains was Asiatic so-called Africans. The only reason why they put African to anything that's black, but that's not true. That's not true. Matter of fact, if you go to Africa, most of your African tribes don't even call that land Africa. They have another name for it. So where do we get this name from? You start saying that these names are named after conquistadors or people that go on quest and take over things. So the reason why I say so-called African Americans, I say African Americans because we identify as that as black people in America. I say so-called because me personally, I am not a African. Now, am I saying that I'm not in a relation or my DNA doesn't match Africa? Of course, we all are family. The whole world was black before white people were created. I want to keep that clear. Everything was indigenous. You have indigenous people of African lands. You have indigenous people of American lands. You have indigenous people of Asian lands. You have indigenous people of European lands. The indigenous people of European lands was called the Moors. They call it the Dark Ages. Why do they call it the Dark Ages? Because it was ran and controlled by dark people before white conquistadors came and became oppressors over that land. So everywhere on earth, even in Australia, you have the Aborigines. So everywhere you go on earth, there's a so-called black melanated being that originated there first. All life did not start in Africa. Many people are now starting to talk about that. There's a bunch of literature and stuff that's now widely spread at talking about these things. And America is one of the most ancient, oldest civilizations in the world. We have some of the oldest pyramids in the world. We have some of the oldest sphinx in the world. We have some of the oldest literatures and writings in the world. America is the ancient old world, and we can do a debate on this. We can talk about it. Anybody want to sit down and go through the literature? We can. I'm all game for it because I'm that confident in the research and the stuff that I did. The Grand Canyon is one of the oldest temples and civilizations of people, of ruins that have been left behind. And a lot of stuff in the Grand Canyon have been carbon dated, and it's carbon dated back to be older than certain things that are in Africa. We have an actual pyramid 20 minutes from where I stay. Is in Cahokia. It's in East St. Illinois. It's called the Cahokia Mounds. One of the most oldest pyramids in the world. The only other pyramid that I have found to be older than that is a pyramid in Mexico. But guess what? When you go to Mexico and you look at the populations around those pyramids, do you see Spanish people of light complexion? You see nappy-headed, dark-skinned people that speak good Spanish because them are your original Mexicans. You can't go to no geographical location on earth that it wasn't melanated beings there first. Whether I'm talking about the Dominican Republic, I'm talking about Puerto Rico, I'm talking about Cuba, South America, anywhere you go on the land, you're going to see black people there first. And then all other people come from us. And this is the truth. Science backed this up. Biology backed this up. Biochemistry backed this up. So when I say so-called African American, it's not to be derogatory towards African people. Them are our brothers and sisters. We are cousins through the genealogies of DNA and bloodlines. We are all connected but I don't come from Africa. My ancestry line don't come from Africa. I come from the Shabti tribe of Louisiana. I know the tribe I come from. I know the zone I come from. We Chickasaw Nation. I know my people. We are not African. We not. We are indigenous to the Americas.
I was talking to
John Hanson was actually America's first black president, not George Washington. This Maryland leader served as president under the Articles of Confederation in 1781, 8 full years before Washington even took office. The Continental Congress officially called him President of the United States and Congress assembled, but somehow his story got completely erased from history books and currency. Makes you wonder what other presidents we've forgotten about. John Hanson was actually America's first black president.
Is Egypt in Africa? No, sweetie. Egypt is in China.
Sweetie, Egypt not in China. Check this out. It's in Alabama, USA.
Peace to the guys and goddesses. Y'all already know what's going on. Y'all know y'all in y'all original land. Y'all know y'all in ancient Egypt. Hikkapatah. Temari is the house. You get what I'm saying? This is why we are Mauriciums Americanums, because Ameri is the Tamarians. America was Libya, also Barca. Like I said, America is a family name. Now, these same Tamarians are the Atlanteans. This explains the eagle on the back of the dollar and explains the land of America, which is the phoenix bird, which symbolized the land of regenerated force. So why do you think the eagle symbolized the phoenix bird, guys and goddesses? Because after 500 years, what? It consumes itself and rises from its ashes. So this land that you in America is so ancient and holy. It's the land of the regenerated force, guys and goddesses. This is why they must keep the original seeds or the essential elements of the land distracted, guys and goddesses. You got to really know what's going on. I'ma always say that. You get what I'm saying? Because the know the land is to have dominion, to have power, and this is how you tap into the original source and elements of the original land once you know the true source of the land. Because truth does not change nor pass away, guys and goddesses. So as you read this, you can see, you already know because y'all been going through TikTok and finding out, but can you explain the original names of the land? Now that you know this is once was this, but can you explain that all that you see in the northeast and southeast Africa is over here in this land, because this is where it started at. This is the original land. This is the Old Testament in the old book, in the old biblical Bibulus, meaning sun tablets, guys and goddesses. Genesis, this is why we are Gentiles, guys and goddesses. This is why Yahshua talked to the Gentiles, which was the house of Tamarian, meaning the royal blue bloods. That's why Joshua was ancient Canaanite and Moabite blood, guys and goddesses. See, but they're not telling you the true information or telling you the true history of your lineage. They're giving you misinformation. And this is what's causing all the confusion on the land. You know what I'm saying? We took on many forms, guys and goddesses. But that's why they say the energy always stays the same, but the body changes. But the energy in the soul, which is the spirit and soul, just changes not. Because that is truth. That is higher self, guys and goddesses. So you got to know the land. You got to know where you at. You got to know the land. You got to know the land. And they want to trick us with all this, and that, and the third, et cetera, et cetera. See, everybody's so distracted on religion and not knowing what's really going on at hand. You need to be trying to tie into the land. And I'm not talking about that new modern name, European names, nomenclature names. You see what I'm saying? You got to go back to the ancient, because once you tap into the ancient, don't you know the lower frequencies and lower entities can't tap into that rim? That is a rim, a plane, a dimension, a vibration, a frequency, guys and goddesses. And this is what they're trying to keep you from tapping into, which is the life force of your original blood. Because remember, once I told y'all, the blood is the information that travels through the blood. Blood is information. So, you know what I mean? The more you take in light codes, the more you tap into these inner worlds. And things begin to reveal to you, because guess what? You ain't doing nothing but remembering. Nothing's being discovered. Nothing is new. Nothing is new under the sun. Everything that you're doing is remembering. You know what I'm saying? Reactivating. Like, come on, we got somebody else running the land to and fro. This is what's going on. Satan is running our land to and fro. And he's projecting a satanic energy, and we've been feeding off it for some time now. Over 6,000 years. America, yeah, is Egypt. That's why Egypt is the capital dominion of Africa, guys and goddesses. America is the heart chakra. Alright, we got to know what's going on. We the original. We the first and the last and the first. There's no beginning, no end to us. You finding more of our bodies than you finding of theirs. You finding ancient Aboriginal, indigenous, Asiatic people bodies and bones million years ago, before dinosaurs. Man, explain that to me, guys and goddesses, because a lot of shit don't make sense. I'm saying we gaining all this information and knowledge, but guess what our ancestors are saying? Action. Where's the action at? You obtaining this knowledge, but are you putting forth action? Because this goes with the force of nature. This is being one with nature. Being a netaru, you got to be enforcing the nature laws. This is what we're here for, not to let someone else operate and disrupt our laws or go outside our laws. Guys and goddesses, it's a lot of misunderstanding going on. We know everything has a shadow and light. Everything has duality. You got to understand the shadow had to been cast first, then the seed was planted in the chaos, because it was chaos before it was order, because out of chaos come order. So you got to know the story and really know that you're that same being that was in ancient time. This is the ancient land. This is the land of regenerated force, guys and goddesses. This is the phoenix bird, period. This is why we are tapping into all these particular informations. That's why sometimes you could think of a person and then you connecting. Everything is connecting back to the source from which it came.
Claiming that Native Americans are actually Asians and colonizers, and that Black Americans are the real Native Americans, that is cultural erasure, and that's part of colonization.
I feel bad for this girl. I really do. She's been lied to her entire life thinking that Black Americans are actually African, but that's racist. I should know. I am racist.
Hold on. We're not gonna act like he didn't just say that. Like, whoa, bro. Like, I'm gonna need you to elaborate on that something. Like, I'm gonna need you to elaborate on that something. What do you mean by that? Like, because you just said that with your whole chest, so I'm gonna need you to elaborate on that. But yeah, let's go ahead and get back into this video.
They only started calling Black people African Americans in the 1980s when they wanted to take their rights away even more. And it's because of propaganda like Roots made people think they were slaves. But no, that's all fake. I made a whole video showing you how slavery is fake. How are you supposed to put 200 Africans on a boat and ship them off across the sea for 6 to 8 months? No food, no water. What the fuck? There's millions of Black Americans here. How you make it out of 100 people? It's so stupid. And what do you mean they're not Siberian? Have you never seen like Siberians in Russia? They have the same fucking dances and drums. It's the same shit.
Do you know why the American government had to make Black children betray their grandparents by making them believe that they came from Africa? That's because they sold this country from us and they wanted our parents to give away the land that our ancestors owned for thousands of years. See, what they won't tell you is that when we started integrating into their schools after the Indian Civil Rights Act of 1968, they taught our parents a fake history and they started teaching them Africanism. They taught them that they came from Africa on slave ships. And if you ask your grandparents or your great-grandparents, if they're about 70 years old, Grandma, did you learn in school that you were a slave or that your people came from Africa? They will tell you no and that they didn't hear anything about that. I told my grandma this and she said, these white people crazy. They making all this stuff up.
Hey, what's up, y'all? We back today with another one, and we'll be talking about how America is ancient Egypt. A lot of people call America Turtle Island because it's the home of the reptiles. This is the land of Kemet, but the original name is Tau Marie. So along the Nile River in Africa, you have cities like Cairo, Karnak, Memphis, Egypt. Now in America, you have Karnak, Egypt, Cairo, Memphis, the same cities in Africa. This is what you call a mirror tribe, people who share the same cultures. A lot of people going to the Middle East looking for the Holy Land. The whole time, it's right here in America. The proof is right in front of our face. It's pyramids everywhere on our land. Even in Las Vegas, they have the hotel paying homage to the Egyptians. It's even carvings on the walls in America of us playing with the snakes. They replicated this same stuff and brought it to the New Egypt. We are the original snake clan from Turtle Island. We are the parents to the Egyptians in Africa. It's even on the money. We had our own kingdom set up over here. The females sat on the throne and they was the rulers. Egypt, Illinois was the capital of the world. Even your god Horus, he was a falcon, and a falcon is only native to America. And then one day, Alexander would come along and conquer the people of America. He would kill the men and take the females and children in as slaves. He would then keep all these people gold and silver for himself. He would then build his own library, hiding all the stolen treasures and merchandise in there. So I told y'all the females ruled ancient America. Alexander the Great made his library a female library, calling it the Great Library of Alexandria instead of Alexander. He would be responsible for the fall of ancient America. But one day, his library would mysteriously burn down. But what really happened, they moved all the stolen treasure to the Vatican. It's a lot of hidden treasures beneath this city. This stuff go back centuries, y'all. Y'all don't even know. But this is how all our history was lost. They stole all of our history and hid it from us, literally, beneath castles. These invaders conquered the people and sat in the queen's seat. But she is back on the rise now. And those that suppressed her are crumbling now at her feet. Peace and ashe. I hope y'all like the lecture.
Why are all the landforms in the Grand Canyon itself, which by the way is 90% off limits, even to the Native Americans, 90% of the Grand Canyon you're not allowed to go to, and there's a reason for that, and we'll get to that. Okay. But they have names that are absolutely unique to Egypt, and there's no indication that any contemporary cavalryman or anybody that was an explorer brought that concept, because the Native Americans themselves, especially the Pueblo people, they have a long history of the star people, aliens, and they also have a long history of the foreigners who came. So in the forbidden history revealed for the first time in history, and this is what people have got, but there's been an overriding control of ancient history. And just as the great Library of Alexandria was burned, there are other depositories of that ancient knowledge.
They told you your ancestors came here in chains, that your story began in the belly of a slave ship, that you were strangers to this land, outsiders who had to earn your place. But what if they were wrong? What if the truth is, you were already here? Before Columbus, before the Pilgrims, before the borders were drawn, before the textbooks were written. What if the first people to walk this land looked like you? dark skin, woolly hair, strong features, free. What if your great-great-grandmother wasn't taken from Africa, but born on American soil under the stars of this land as an indigenous person? This isn't a theory. This isn't a myth. This is history, buried, erased, and rebranded. Because long before African American was a label, there were black Native American nations with names, languages, governments, and land. And when colonizers couldn't enslave them, they reclassified them from tribe to colored, from sovereign to slave. In this video, we'll reveal the hidden tribes, the stolen bones, the DNA they don't want you to test, and the real reason they don't want you to know that America's first people were also black. Because if you know you were already here, you'll stop asking for a seat at the table and start reclaiming the land it sits on. Think back to what you were taught in school. They said the first people in America came from Asia, that thousands of years ago, tribes crossed a frozen land bridge from Siberia into Alaska. They wandered down through Canada and over time spread across the continent. You were told they were the first Americans, and every image you saw looked the same: light brown skin, straight black hair, high cheekbones, feathers, and face paint. You were taught that Native Americans were one thing, one image, one narrative. Anything outside of that didn't exist. They never told you about the black tribes. They never mentioned dark-skinned nations with African features. They never showed you early colonial maps with tribal names that sound nothing like the ones in modern textbooks. Instead, they simplified, they sanitized, they curated a version of native history that excluded you. Hollywood ran with it. Cartoons, westerns, and documentaries all repeated the same characters: the noble red man, the wise old chief, the stoic warrior, but never the black woman with braids, never the dark-skinned elder sitting on tribal land, never the man with dreadlocks speaking his native tongue. And yet, there are records, there are photos, there are witnesses who described black indigenous tribes right here in America. So why were they erased? Because the mainstream story was never about truth. It was about control. Control over identity, control over land, control over legacy. If you believed you were just a slave, just an import from Africa, then you had no claim to this land, no ancestral connection, no birthright. But if it turned out that your bloodline was already rooted here, if your ancestors were among the original inhabitants of this land, then everything changes. Because indigenous status isn't just historical, it's legal. It comes with land, recognition, and rights. And those rights were systematically stripped from black people by redefining who they were, through censuses, through court rulings, through school books, through silence. They gave you a version of history that started at the dock, but your story might have started in the soil. In the next part, we'll uncover the names and faces of the tribes they erased, and why your grandmother may have been right when she said, "We got Indian in our blood."
How's New York all the way over here? Ohio, New York, Massachusetts, Minnesota. This is the ground plans of the Louisiana Purchase Explosion. St. Louis, Missouri, 1904. Keyword 1904. Now first look at that. You see how the south is up north and the north is down south and the west is east and the east is west. So you see how they flipped already? They flipped the compass. So now everybody's direction is off whenever they're looking for something particularly, or whenever they're trying to see where something is or what something is. So key word that I want people to see, because north ain't south and south ain't north and east ain't west and west ain't east. Round plans, it says 1904, right? So Morocco wasn't even founded till 1952. So what is this? You sure this ain't the ancient Jerusalem and ancient Morocco right over here next to Illinois? California was right over here, Temple Inn, you see Japan, right? You see a bunch of little places. Hold on, you see Great Britain. Yes, this is on this land. You see Sweden, you see Cuba, you see China, you see Belgium, yup, Austria. All of these places were over here and took the Jerusalem from over here and threw it over there. They took Morocco from over here and threw it over there because we can find letters from George Washington writing to the Sultan of Morocco. So if the Morocco that's established over there in 1952, if that was just established, then this must have been the Morocco he was writing to, or Cairo, shall I say. You got a Cairo, Illinois, and they say the Cahokia Mounds. We got a lot of mounds over here. We were mound builders. They didn't want to call us pyramid builders. They called us mound builders. You see, we got Tennessee over here, Idaho, fraternity. You see what I'm saying? Look at that. Virginia, Georgia. Come on, man. See, Missouri was way up here. So we in Missouri. I'm in Missouri right now, but how Missouri way up here? How is this a map of the land that I'm on right now? But Missouri is just a little teeny place next to Louisiana and Wisconsin and Ohio, New York. Why is New York all the way over here? How is New York all the way over here? Ohio, New York, Massachusetts, Minnesota. So clearly we had these places. North Jerusalem. For those who claim they're Israelites but don't even know where Israel is, this is Jerusalem, the holy city, buddy. Sorry, you got Iowa, you got Mississippi, and mind you, if you're wondering why it looks so confusing, you should be. They flipped your whole world upside down. So you see south is north, north is south, east is west, west is east. So you have to learn a whole new form of directions.
How you know it was us first, because before it was considered reservations. What were they called? Concentration camps. Before concentration camps, they were called public labor camps.
Labor camp.
Did we see any Native Americans go through so-called slavery? Because that's the land that they're talking about. Were they on the plantations? No, these people are brand new. They just got here. And you can't trace Native American to American Indian by way of paperwork. That's a brand new term that just started in the 1970s. I put that out there too. The first time that you heard the term Native American was from the Native American Party, the Know Nothings, the third largest political party during the time period of the Federalists and the Whigs. They were fighting for rights then, as foreigners. So that's why I tell people to stop calling yourself Native, because that has nothing to do with you. You're indigenous to this land. You're not a visitor.
We not Lions, we not slaves, we not niggas, bitch, we kings. We the Hebrews, we the Moors, the Indians, and everything. We was the Egyptians, Native Americans, give a fuck about what they say. They change our history and our culture, we don't even know our names. Mansa Musa, Shaka Zulu, Haile Selassie, Akhenaten, King Tut, we got Anubis, Black Power, they can't stop us. We was ruling Europe way before Queen Elizabeth. Why they acting like we can create everything they use today? Science, astronomy, astrology, math, that's the least that I can say. We created paper, music, medicine, books, plenty more things that we made. Go read about Tartarian Empire, then you might get the picture. They tried to erase our history so we could think we just a nigga. All you gotta do is be yourself, being great is in our blood. The codes is in our DNA, so just create straight out of love. All that YN shit is dead, cause we is kings, so come and king. We royal warriors of the planet, might be a new time, but nothing changed.
I was talking to this pastor, and this pastor was like, y'all young people's finding out the secret. And I asked him, what secret is he talking about? He said, yes, America is Egypt. He was like, that's what the Seminole War was about, the Louisiana Purchase was about. And he was like, look up this map. It's called Tamari. And he said, y'all is Tamarikans. So I went to look up at the map, right? And I was amazed he was right. He was like, that's y'all true nationality. And he was like, when the Seminole War broke out, that's when they won and they took over America and started calling them Americans, and they spelt it different. And the Bible is based upon y'all. All pastors know this, Freemasonry know this, everybody know this.
Pyramid on the Nile and Northeast Africa doesn't have stair steps going up it. It doesn't have temples on top of its summits. They could not go and break through the boat on the temples atop those great pyramids. There are none there. And that was the clue that Egypt was writing about the Americas. And the deeper I got into the records, the clearer it got. They started actually saying, and because I'm in love that land so much, he said it's his beloved land, and that word was Mary, the beloved. Mary, M-E-R-I, Mary. And the land, of course, last before is Ta, the beloved land, Ta Mary. And they kept that name and just put the Ta on the end of it. So Ta Mary became a Mary Ta. We simply say America. We kept the name that Egypt gave to the Americans. So that was the big mystery behind that $10 million map that Martin Waldseemüller made and then put the name America on it in 1507. And then those who knew and those who were trying to hide things said, wait a minute, you can't put that name on here. And the next time he reprinted that map, it was off, it was gone. Because that's the name that Egypt had given the land.
Now you know your nationality.
This is the emblem of America, right? Keep watching. Signs are everywhere. The truth has always been there. You're not paying attention.
We are here because we did not believe them when they told us our rage was not ladylike. We did not believe them when they said our violence goes too far. We did not believe them when they said the hatred that we feel for our enemies is not godlike. They say that to women like us because they know what happens when we are free. Free to hate when we must. Free to kill when we must. Free to bring destruction when we must. That is our freedom. That is our prayer. No matter what they think of us after we grind them into the dust. That is our love.
So, pyramid. That you cannot mistake that for anything else but a pyramid. And it has everything. It's a pyramid. Don't argue with me. Have a good day.
Crazy, right? Like, just crazy. The stuff that I'm coming across is just like, wow. I would have never thought, because they never decided to show this type of stuff in school. They hid this type of stuff. Like, did you know about that black president? Did you know there was a president that was black before George Washington? A lot of black people gonna say no, because no, we did not know that. They don't teach that shit. Like, I knew there was one in Mexico, but I didn't know there was one in America. Because they hide the truth from us. But hey, if you're enjoying the videos, go ahead, drop a like and subscribe for a brother. Small click for you, but it really helps me out. Trust me, it really does. And join me next time on another episode of Azrael Reacts, because I'm your boy Azrael. And deuces.